Hello again, everyone. I've been contemplating doing this for a while, and now I finally worked out how to do it. Now, with having passed much spin-offs having seen release, it's time to finally examine in detail why Pokemon Chronicles didn't work, and explore how it can be fixed. Let's get started. On paper, the idea of focusing on different characters other than the ones in my series isn't inherently a bad one. It's more recent, and spin-offs such as Origins, Generations, and Detective Pikachu movie have shown. Unfortunately, whether or not Legend of Thunder or most subsequent episodes have followed, the way the characters are written effectively nullified that appeal. I've argued before that introducing another character isn't the same as establishing them. Replacing one character with another doesn't always solve the problem, it's just because it's often create a different one. Solution is simple. If you're using existing characters, just build upon the existing pre-established characterizations instead of just jettisoning it. Conversely, if you're introducing new characters, make sure to establish them. Contrary to popular belief, they're not the same thing. This ties into the previous point. While taking some creative license isn't turning itself from an anime, both Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon very significant from their manga in many respects, the resulting changes still make your output able to be enjoyed on its own merit. I argued this before, and it bears arguing again the spin-off's inability to decide whether it wants to be its own thing or adhere to the already established canon, which does more harm than good to the spin-off. People want a standalone story, aren't going to know what's going on. People want a different take on Pokemon, aren't going to like Creative's take on the source material. Yeah. The solution here is twofold. If you want to make a standalone story set in the same official universe, you need to make sure it can accomplish that goal. Even though Detective Pikachu follow-up is still in limbo, partly due to the pandemic, partly due to WB changing up leadership, it still presents a great example. Even though it's tailor-made for fans like me, if you've never played a 3DS game, you can still understand that Tim's goals about what happened to his dad and enjoys an Nino detective story. If you want to hear what the existing canon has done, you need to keep the details consistent. This is one of the more noticeable issues of Chronicles, which always seemed like it was lacking in production value, and even looked worse than the main series on most given days. The Christmas specials were largely spared due to already being made and repackaged for a spin-off, but for the most part, looked like one of the anime's imitators than one of the same sort of universe. Later spin-offs had time and money to make the stories work, explicitly treated as distinct in the case of Origins, Generations, Evolutions, and now the upcoming Hisuian Snow. Even the strongest evolution, all the issues I had with it, at least look better than this. So, that solution is already in place. Even in stories that had potential, the few ones I kind of liked and might consider viewing in the near future have a litany of issues. There are times in the best ideas can ruin my poor execution, with Legend of Thunder not really dropping the ball so much as hurling at the coach's windshield. I can understand that sometimes you had to take ideas as they come, but other times the script needs more rewrites. I've spent the last decade or so not posting anything until it's ready, but most of the spin-off feels like submitted first drafts of final drafts before punching out for the day. Sorry to any fans of the spin-off, but I don't consider who Misty might have dated to be as important to a character as how she earned her sister's respect. You have some details to become part of the anime's canon. Misty's supposed to be a Cerulean gym leader, Brooke's mother Lola returning after her absence. Most of them are such a mess I would argue that the details are apocryphal. I'll address this more in the next couple points, but this is an issue I've had with Chronicles for ages. I've never been one to engage in the whole subbing versus dubbing discourse. Short of using the subs to introduce myself to a new series or keep up with existing ones, I believe English dub should be able to stand on its own. Like any adaptation, it's no good if it can't do that. Regrettably, this is one of those cases. It's the worst kind of English dub that not only fails to be enjoyable on its own merit, but also exacerbates issues with original Japanese dub. An associate of mine actually went so far to compare it to the 4Kids One Piece of the Pokemon franchise. Harsh. Warranted to be sure, but the point still stands. Sadly, there's not much that can be done about that, and it's telling one of the few bits of content that hasn't been given a US DVD release or made available official download or streaming. This leads to my final point on why this didn't work and how it can be fixed. All the reasons I cited can be tied into this last point about why the spin-off fundamentally did not work as an adaptation of Pokemon. While spin-offs focused on different character aspects of franchises may not be a bad idea on paper, the execution of this one is like Sephiroth being shredded and burned in a mix of kerosene and lighter fluid. When Misty has Gyarados as her ace in many of the game's adaptations, I can't really suspend disbelief about her being scared about a mishap as an infant. I may like Richie and Casey fine, but I don't think those characters were the best option to focus on, nor to make a case of spin-offs featuring other characters at all. For better recent examples, Generation Evolutions found ways of keeping the player characters out of focus, while things like Cynthia and the Kimono Girls advance the story. In particular, the scoop deliberately kept it vague whether or not it was Brendan or May in a spacesuit during the engagement with Rayquaza and Deoxys. The Detective Pikachu movie was also constantly made ambiguous whether it was Ash Red in the Stadium cameo, because referring to Willa's male Pokemon trainer. My favorite episode's origins was the Giovanni segment. I wouldn't object to a story about him in the vein of Joker Cruella. Him as an anti-hero, outright villain protagonist. When the stories weren't being inconsistent, they were simply just a mess. They didn't feel like extensions of this fictional universe so much as a square peg fitted into a round hole with a sledgehammer. One key example I can give about a series that's good at making distinctive spin-offs to explore its fictional universe through a different lens is Star Wars. But the Tartakovsky and Filoni version of Clone Wars, as well as Rebels, Resistance, and the Bad Batch focus on camaraderie of the heroes. Rogue One played more like a war movie than a space opera. Still had elements of both a heist caper and a space western, with the Mandalorian going on the latter aspect. The Book of Boba Fett continued that concept, also having elements of crime drama. And the Obi-Wan event series definitely looks to further bridge a gap between the Dark Times of the Sith and the fantasy of the original trilogy. There's even the Visions anime anthology, which I tend to look at after I finish it. My point is, if you're going to spin off of this nature, you need to do more than just focus on other characters. You need to make your stories and production videos the best quality they can be, and respect the material you've been given, and be consistent with how you use the characters you do focus on. Instead of Misty's toddler roles of Gyarados, I usually portray her with elements of Legend of Pikachu in her character, with shades of Lara Croft in both personality and looks. The wetsuit in the English release especially, given the more revealing one in the JP release, was partially due to the fact the artist producer drew adult manga stories. No, I am not making that up. I'm skeptical about Journeys and series a whole shifting focus to go. Mostly I do like his character. Upcoming Scarlet and Violet share an interesting impact on what comes next. Though Chronicles may have been, in my view, a failure, it doesn't mean the concept of suggestion is beyond help. Maybe it failed for me, so later stories like Origins Detective Pikachu succeed. When I started uploading on this channel just over a decade ago, it wasn't just to complain about problems I have with the stories, it was also to find solutions whenever possible. My suggestions weren't always the same as others. It would be way more like that Team Rocket is replaced and used rather than Ash. But I want to keep expanding on this topic. As year marks 25th anniversary of original anime, I'll review more material throughout the year, including my full reviews of both the Sinnoh remakes and Pokemon Legends Arceus. I may even go into more detail about the points I mentioned, I just need to figure out how I could approach that. I will see you all again soon. Take care, everyone.